Greetings to you on this Tuesday, September the 3rd, and it is a Tuesday today, and already September's 1/10 gone. Love Your Neighbor is the title of today's devotion. The Charles Dickens portion of this comes from Sketches by Boz. I believe this might be maybe the second time we've been to this publication. I think it was a collection of short stories, actually, but Love Your Neighbor. A very different personage in our parish is one of the old lady's next door neighbors. He is an old naval officer, and his bluff and behavior disturbs the old lady's domestic economy not a little. He is a bit of a jack of all trades, and nothing delights him better than to experiment on the old lady's property. One morning he got up early and planted 3 or 4 roots of full-grown marigolds in every bed of her front garden, to the astonishment of the old lady, who actually thought when she got up and looked out of the window that it was some strange eruption which had come out in the night. Another time he took to pieces the clock on the front landing, under pretense of cleaning the works, which he put together again in so wonderful a manner that the large hand has done nothing but trip up the little one ever since. When he took to breeding silkworms, which he would bring in 2 or 3 times a day in little paper boxes to show the old lady, generally dropping a worm or 2 at every visit, the consequence was that some had already found their way to every room in the house. The old lady went to the seaside in despair, and during her absence, he completely effaced the name from her brass doorplate in his attempts to polish it with aqua fortis, a hyphenated word, aqua, so water or strong wind or strong water, aqua fortis. So let's see how she's going to love her neighbor, with some thoughts from Gene Fisher. Or maybe that's his display of love for her. The plot thickens. One can only feel sympathy for the woman in this scene, which showcases Charles Dickens' subtle sense of humor. If you have ever had a neighbor like the old naval officer, then you can understand why the woman sought solace at the seaside. Some neighbors are hard to live with and downright difficult to love. A teacher of the law asked Jesus which commandment was the most important. And Jesus answered, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind and with all of your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." And you can find that in Mark 12:29-31. Neighborly relationships begin by loving God. That is a powerful statement right there. We did a sermon or 2 on this a little bit ago. Loving God is directly connected to being able to loving our neighbor. If we don't have God's love in us through him, we are hopeless in trying to love annoying neighbors that make too much noise, neighbors that come over and bug us all the time, maybe trying to express their love and doing things for us, but then they never do them good enough, or they don't do them the way you ask them to do them. There's all kinds of ways as neighbors we can annoy each other, that's for sure. Somebody who likes to ride their motorcycle at midnight, rev it up and drive in front of your house. Neighborly relationships begin by loving God. We are to love him with total commitment and then tend our relationships through his love. This is the natural course that God has planned for us. Jesus also said, "A new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." We are more likely to get along with difficult neighbors, such as Dickens's old naval officer, when we hold on to Jesus' words and put them into practice. Leviticus 19:18, right from the meat, the heart of the Mosaic law, which sounds, most people just assume the Mosaic law is all harsh stuff, all hard to, punishing and all of the things that we think of when we think of an angry God who punishes. Here's what Leviticus 19:18 says, again, right out of the heart of the Mosaic law: "You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." And the word for Lord that's used there is the same is Yahweh, which is the name given to Moses at the burning bush when he asked, "Who shall I tell him?" He's being commissioned to go and lead Israel out of slavery and out of Egypt. "Who shall I say sent me?" The Hebrew, which is not completely known for sure, but we abbreviate it with that YWHW. And it's the covenant name for God. Lord, with a capital L and all small O-R-D, is just a title of respect. Like we say Mr. In that culture, saying Lord elevated that person who you were talking to or talking about. In this case, this is God's name. I am that I am. I am and I always will be, basically, with you, for you, beside you, keeping my promises, keeping my covenant with you. Now, we all know the problem came when Israel couldn't keep wouldn't keep their covenant back, and we run into the same thing. But what's striking to me is that Jesus gives these two. There were hundreds of extra laws that men tacked on to God's law. And here he tells this person who asked the question, a teacher of the law, here's two commandments. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor like you want to be loved, or like you've been loved by me. It's all covered there. The law is all about, fulfilling the law is all about love, loving God. And in loving him, we begin to see value even in annoying neighbors. Jesus died for them too. You weren't anything special. I wasn't anything special. That the Lord should die for me, that God the Father should love me. I need to recognize that. I didn't deserve that more than them, and they don't deserve it less than me, to know the love of God in their lives, to know what has been done for them. Even while we all, every last one of us, were yet sinners, Christ died for us. What a blessed reality. It's a way to look at our world, sensing the love of God within ourselves so that we can extend it out to others around us. Blessings to you today on this Tuesday.